I'm Linda Fox. I'm Senior Reporter of PhocusWire, and I'm here in the PhocusWire studio at Phocuswright Europe with Steve Davis, and he's CEO of Operto. Welcome, Steve. Great for you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So in your launch presentation, you discussed fragmentation in the market, and obviously that's a big issue, but where does Operto feed into that? What role does it play?
Yeah, so we've built Operto very much as like an operating system that aggregates a lot of the sort of disparate parts of that ecosystem. So if you look, I put up a technology landscape picture earlier today in my presentation, kind of showing that there's literally just hundreds of vertical SaaS players out there, everyone vying for an increasingly small amount of the pie. The way that we've architected Operto is to say, listen, we know that there's going to be competition in those verticals, but what we want to be able to do is offer the ability for a hotel, let's say, or a short-term rental to come to us and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to accomplish with my property for my guests. This is the kind of guest journey that I want. And Operto can step in. We can actually work with that property and say, these are the vendors that we would work with to actually custom create that user journey. And then we can basically tie those providers into Operto, and then they can use Operto as sort of a one-stop shop, single unified view of all the technology that's running their property in one place, which is actually at the end of the day, the most useful thing for the owner operator, that they don't have 12 tabs open on their Chrome browser trying to organize all the different pieces of technology. They just use Operto as that unifying force.
But more or less tailored for them, all brought together for them.
Absolutely. So just like some properties want, heavy on the guest management side, some more on sort of the revenue management side, some like it's operations management. Like it really depends on kind of what the property is looking for.
Yeah.
We work with them again, sort of consultatively. We say, okay, if this is the kind of property you're trying to run and these are the kind of end goals that you're trying to achieve, let's look at putting these pieces in for you. It's never like sort of an all-in-one kind of thing. We sort of start to knock off pieces and then we'll add and add and add and add. And that's where we found a lot of success working in a more of a consultative way than with our customers.
Okay. Now, we all know how challenging having this fragmented industry is and how many players, and that goes across all verticals, not just hotel or short-term rental. But if we project forward, how will it look in maybe a year, 2 years' time? Will it have improved? Are you sort of optimistic about it?
Yeah, I think it's going to improve simply because I think a lot of people are going to run out of money. That's going to be the market force that will drive things. There'll be a ton of consolidation. I mean, in short-term rental, we're seeing that start to happen increasingly, especially from the PMS side. A lot of cashed up PMSs are actually going out and sort of buying the long tail competition in their space and really sort of starting to roll up a lot of the customers.
Yeah.
That will continue to accelerate over the next few years because we are in a very tough fundraising environment for sure. I mean, we're lucky we just completed our B round, so we're in a good place. But again, that we've got opportunities to look at some of our competitors and say, did these things actually, are they additive to our current trajectory? Is this something we want to look at?
And you've already made some acquisitions.
Yeah, we've actually bought 2 companies in the last 2 years. So the first one was a housekeeping and maintenance company in the United States, which basically allowed us to tie the end of our guest journey together. So from the moment of booking all the way through to the moment that the cleaner comes in and you start to get the back of house things going, Operto can kind of do all of it now. That was the reason for that. And then we bought a company here in Spain about 6 months ago who just deepened our technology stack and allowed us to launch a product called Operto Boost, which is the ability to retrofit and upgrade existing hardware on doors and give them a second life, which is, again, in this market where hotels aren't looking to necessarily have huge outlays of capital, but they want to upgrade their hotels to a modern guest check-in experience. We can now do it without having to replace any of the hardware or the doors, which is an insane thing for hotels.
Yeah, and I think that came with some interesting customers, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It came with a core.
Yeah,
so,
which is impressive.
A pretty nice customer. Obviously, for us, it was 100 times bigger than anything we'd ever dealt with. So we kind of jumped in 2 feet with arms and legs together, and we managed to. Things are in a really, really good place. We took a lot of the things we learned in short-term rentals in terms of just how do we activate a customer effectively, and we've rolled that into a core, and things are rolling out really, really nicely right now.
Okay, so one of the other huge trends now is AI. What are your initial thoughts? What's your sort of, first encounter with it, if I can ask?
For sure. I think, it's, AI is an interesting one. It's kind of the buzzword like crypto was a few years ago. Everyone pretending that they know where this whole thing's going and no one actually has a clue. At Operto, the most obvious place for us to start in places that we are starting is for like things like customer service, right? Where we can actually have AI taking care of a lot of the frontline customer service stuff for us. Our developers are building in AI right now, so they have what we call co-pilots. So we have systems that can actually write code for us, and we can pop it in. So instead of a developer being part of the band, they actually become the orchestrator of everything, and we can develop faster. We can develop products more accurately. So we've started to put that into our workflows from day one, and we actually, when ChatGPT came out, for sure it's helped us with some of our outbound stuff, like our sales development is amazing now, and it's just sort of sped everything up. But I think that we're only in the very, very early days of this whole thing. And I think that like even in a month from now, 6 months from now, especially a year from now, I mean, the tools that are coming onto the market right now, especially in the hospitality space, are like breathtaking. And so I think it's really, really exciting for everyone that's in this industry.
Okay. So one of the other things that we talk about a lot, but perhaps we don't take seriously enough, is sustainability. Are hotels, are they managing to integrate it into their systems? Are they?
Yeah, I think it's becoming, something that we get asked a lot about. One of the things that we, obviously with Operto boost this sort of ability to retrofit and reuse things that are in perfectly working order and not having to throw them on the landfill is really important for us. One of the other things that we're looking at now is like, how can we use that same technology to actually control offline air conditioning units so that we can actually tell when the guest is in the room, so we can bring down the temperature remotely. And then actually that ties into a water flow technology that we're working with a partner on right now, that we can start to meter and gauge water usage inside of hotel rooms so that we can actually tell a guest like, hey, by the way, you've used 50 liters of water this morning because you took an hour-long shower, and actually making people aware of their environmental impact that they're having. Beyond sort of carbon scores and carbon credits especially, it's really kind of giving someone like almost like an ESG score for their stay in a hotel. And I think that we're going to continue to see more and more of this kind of stuff. Again, we want to be on the leading edge of that, because we know that the technology, especially IoT, is going to play a pivotal role in that, and that's where we're well positioned.
And our hotels, do you think, getting the message about prioritizing some of this stuff?
Oh, for sure. I think most consumers, if it's not top of mind, it's somewhere in there in the buying criteria for sure. We get asked about it more and more and more, and so I think for us, developing solutions that are possible. Is anyone going to cancel a trip because it doesn't tick all the boxes? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I think that it is becoming more and more important, especially as we're starting to see the next generation of travelers come through. So like less boomer travel, but more sort of Gen X or Gen Z coming on. That generation is very, very conscious of impact, and I think that hotels, regardless, I mean, anyone in hospitality space that hasn't got this stuff at least top of mind or somewhere there is going to suffer.
And I like the idea of what you said about ESG kind of scores and calculations, because I think that really helps get the message over to consumers as well. It's kind of clear and measurable and.
I mean, it's one of those things when you check into a hotel is like, oh, the rules don't apply. You take an hour-long shower. You crank up the air conditioning, crank up the heat, sort of live like you maybe normally wouldn't because hey, I'm on vacation.
Right.
Well, I mean that has a knock-on effect, right? And if everyone's vacationing like that or doing business travel like that like just adds such a heavy load to the already huge crisis that we're facing. So I think again, just surfacing those things so that the consumer knows like, hey, by the way, like, this is actually your impact, whether that's like, you're not getting cleaning every day, you're not reusing your towels, like all those kind of things. But then like, I think the water thing is massive, something we're seeing a huge amount of interest in right now, and being able to like help hoteliers or any sort of professional property manager to manage their energy savings. Because I mean, that I don't know what it's like in Europe right now, it's pretty bad, but North America, it's brutal. And that's really where the margin compression happens for a lot of the owner operators in this space.
Steve, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.